All right, so I just recorded this whole video, but the mic was off. So I'm going to sit down and we'll record this again. So, welcome to 2025 goal setting. Today is Sunday, the 22nd. I've had a really nice day today, just a really chill day. Just spent at the gym, at the sauna, and just wrapping up now into the afternoon. So, I thought I've been reflecting a lot lately on 2024, and I thought I'd share 5 things I'm doing to level up and improve my life in 2025 in hopes to inspire you and help you to level up into next year as well. So let's start with reflection on 2024. 2024 for me was a really challenging year, but it brought a lot of personal growth as well as business growth. But it also brought upon a lot of distractions and a lot of things I think I can do better to improve my life heading into 2025. So 5 things I'm going to be doing. Let's start with number one. So, number one, top of my list, I wrote is being present. Now, I think a lot of people struggle to be present in today's society purely because we live in a just distraction based, dopamine based society. So, for me, being present is so important. I think sitting down with myself and really thinking hard. There's a lot of things that I can't remember from this year because I was so worried about what was to come or what had happened. And I don't want to sit down 10 years down the track and just think, what did I do? Right. So, intentionally trying to be present every single day and make the most out of every moment is really important to me heading into next year. And I think for a lot of people, right, like just sitting down and making the most of the day and finding the beauty in every single day should be something that everyone is doing. So, obviously, being present is challenging, like we said, because of a lot of different reasons. And for me, this kind of goes into my next point of limiting technology. So, I was actually having a chat with one of my mates today, George, and he spoke about how it's very strange, and we're having this conversation, how it's very strange that when we've got nothing to do, or we feel bored, or we feel like, there's, say we finish with work, that kind of thing, we instantly turn to technology to get our dopamine hit, or as a way to switch off these kinds of things, right? With internally, a lot of us don't really care about what other people are doing, but we'll get so caught up in their Instagram post or the For You page on TikTok, these kinds of things, and we forget to live our own lives. And that ties back into obviously the topic of being present. So for me now, I did spend a lot of time scrolling this year, and I think a lot of people did, right? They tell you any differently, they're probably lying. But intention into 2025 is to really limit that. There's a couple of ways I'm going to be doing that as well. So I found an app called Opal. I'll link it into the description for you guys as well if you want to check it out. Basically what Opal is, it's an app blocker. Right, so from kind of 6 a.m. until 12 p.m. for me now is completely blocked on all socials, right? So anything that's going to cause a distraction, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, I don't know what you guys use, like Snapchat, these kinds of things, it's all blocked. And then I've given myself an hour from 12 to 1 p.m. every single day to kind of sit down, have lunch, do your scroll, get your fix, and then apps are blocked again from 1 until 7. And that was just for me. It needs to be done for work as well. I find myself just getting back to people so quickly all the time and giving all my time up. And I like to be in a really creative flow state. And when I can do that, my best work happens, right? But when I'm constantly distracted with replying back to a message, an email, these kinds of things, you really can't get into deep work. And deep work for me is something I want to really implement into 2025. And intentionally, like when you sit down to work for 2 hours, actually working for 2 hours. I think a lot of us can work less and do more, but we drag out our days because we're so distraction focused, and therefore, kill your ability to get productive work done. So limiting technology, obviously, Opal is going to be one. And then also just going back to pen and paper. I think for me, this will help me stay a whole lot more present. And I tried this in the past, journaling, to-do lists, that kind of thing. And they've failed because I haven't stuck to them. But for me now, reflecting on what has been and what is to come, I don't love a full calendar, and I used to love a full calendar of like back to back to back to back. But when I was doing that, right, I was struggling to be creative and stay in that creative state. So for now, what I'm going to do is just sit down every day and be really present, and tying into my third point, reflecting daily. When I can reflect daily, have clear intentions of what has to happen heading into the day, I think there's just so much more return on my investment of time. So I've got all my goals written here for 2025. I've got all my current kind of, where I'm at right now. I'm looking forward to seeing that growth come into, the next year, to next year, and reflecting on the growth at the end of the year as well. So that is our third point there. Moving on to the last couple of points here. Now, avoiding toxic hustle is a big one for me. I think, up until probably halfway through this year, my business has grown purely off brute force and, not the greatest systems and the structures and these kinds of things, and just me doing everything or having to reply to everything now. That is such an unsustainable model. It's ridiculous, right? Like, you end up resenting your business, you hate your work, you don't have any time to give to yourself, your friends, your family. I had a big event happen in my life probably midway through, a little bit earlier this year, that really opened my eyes and kind of made me feel like I need to be more present, because I lost a relationship, these kinds of things. And, I think that was pretty, like, I don't, dependent's not the right word, but that happened because of my toxic hustle. So learning to show up for other people, this obviously ties into the presence and that kind of thing as well. And just being a better person, I need to stop hustling and working hard, but I need to start doing hard work. So I got that from Dan Martell, and I've probably spoken about that in a couple of my past videos. Doing hard work, for me, is something that's challenging me every single day. Not so much being there physically and implementing the work, but what is going to challenge me as a person and drive the business forward. That's what I need to be doing every single day, that kind of work, and not feeling bad about it either. Imposter syndrome is so huge in entrepreneurs, in anyone, right? Like, when you feel like you're not actually there, you feel guilty, and you spend your whole day thinking like your business is going to fall from the highest point to the lowest of lows. And I've definitely felt that throughout this year. But learning to put faith in the team, trust in the team, is a big one. And you start to build this company, and you build this team based on, I just want to, like, Temper Fitness as a whole, as a team, not so much Tarkin and his company, but the team and the crew that we're building now, they make up Temper, right? And promoting Temper, excuse me, not so much yourself, is something that I've learned. It's like the company builds a name for itself. It's not purely dependent on the founder, that kind of thing. So, that was a big one as well. And then saying no more, right? So I'm someone who struggles to say no, but, in the past I've said no, and then I felt really, really bad about saying no as well. But learning to do that for me is something I'm going to have to carry into next year. And I think when come in. Good. I'm filming. I'm nearly done. I'll be like 5 minutes. What are we doing?
Nothing, I just came back.
Is it good? Yeah, nice. Yochi tonight.
Alright.
Done. Alright, bet. Back to it. Right, so saying no more. So Alex Hormozy talks about this a lot. Layla Hormozy, they talk about this a lot. When you can say no and actually stay present and driven in what you're trying to achieve for that day, I think so much more comes from it. Right, so when even this comes from day to day, right? So when you're setting out your diary and your time and these kinds of things and making the most out of your time, if you like to spend 7 a.m. until 12 p.m. to be creative and do things that are going to move your business forward, and then you schedule a random Zoom 15, 20 minutes throughout that period, number one, you're interrupting your flow state, and number two, it's not something you wanted to do because your time is best spent being creative during that period. That's what I need to get better at, right? So saying no to the team when perhaps that issue or that problem can be solved at a later date and it's not going to affect the outcome, that's a big one, a very, very big one, right, that I've had to overcome. And not getting back to emails at 8, 9 p.m, like that's time to switch off, right? And not getting back to Slack messages and these kinds of things, it's going to be there tomorrow. And I think I spoke about this last video as well. The sun will rise tomorrow, but so will more problems, issues, challenges, these kinds of things. So say more now to just keep being content and keep in a good frame of mind and be present, all these kinds of things. Now, hopefully you've got something from those and you can implement them coming into 2025 as well. Now, I want to touch on my actual, goals and measurables coming into next year. So open this one up, I've written them all down. Like we say, getting rid of the technology, more pen and paper. There's a lot of things, a lot of studies, that kind of thing, that say writing things down is a lot more beneficial than writing them down in tech, right? Your laptop, your phone. So we'll touch on these now. All right, so 2025 goals. I've got here basically crack 6 figures in business savings. And why I want to do that, I've always had this really weird infatuation with like 100K, right, save, and I think it's more of a security thing. So ticking off that mark, it's going to be a big one for us, and it should be able to be done quite comfortably because we've set ourselves up well towards the back end of this year. Now, $20,000 weeks, so $1 million worth of revenue within the business heading into 2025 is a goal. Now, not necessarily hitting $1 million, but having a first 20K week is going to be a big one for us. And I do everything weekly because we do weekly recurring revenue, right? So a 20K week is definitely on the cards for us and something we're going to push towards. Now, personal brand as well, 5K Instagram followers and then 10K YouTube subs. So for me, learning to share myself more and developing a personal brand is something I'm really interested in doing. These videos for me have been so much fun to do. And, I've had stints of trying to do YouTube in the past, and honestly, I just wasn't ready. So I wasn't mature enough. I was chasing numbers, and when a video didn't do well or got, doing well, listen to me, like my videos right now are getting anywhere from 100 to kind of 150 views for a good video. But they're really fulfilling for me. And I think obviously staying consistent, staying true to me, myself, and, not selling your soul, which I think a lot of creators do, is something that I think will bring along a lot of growth. Obviously, I've got here travel. So talking about creativity in our past, probably a minute or two ago, creativity is so important for me in being in creative spaces. And I've learned probably the past 6 weeks of this year that I thrive off not staying in one area and having to work in one spot. So driving around cafes, the gym, these kinds of things, and doing my work there for the day, I think it keeps it fresh, exciting. New ideas come, you speak to more people, which they obviously have inputs on things, and you start to take things on board, and it really helps. So traveling a lot more to do day-to-day tasks and work and be productive, and then travel 5 places by plane. So traveling is something I never thought that I would do. I thought I was always going to be probably, my mindset 3 years ago was like hustle, buy properties, rinse and repeat all the way to your 30, set yourself up, then you'll be good. Now, for me now, I'm kind of going, why can't I do that and still be successful with property and set myself up? So kind of thinking now in what 2025 looks like in terms of travel. I've got a trip to Melbourne, Brisbane, and then most likely Adelaide coming up, all to do, business related. And then I've got, fingers crossed, Lombok towards the end of this year, and then probably, just a Bali trip, just to clear the mind. And I didn't, last time I went to Bali, I just wasn't present at all. And I haven't been present for a lot of 2024, I wasn't present. I wasn't there. I wasn't showing up for my family and my friends and that kind of thing. And just being a better person is something I'm going to really try and do heading into 2025. back to the point there, I really want to make the most of Bali. It's got a great fitness scene out there, and just kind of like spend some time focusing on my health is a big one. And then, you know, showing up for people. For me, sitting down and writing every important date in here was a big one. And I did that kind of a couple of days ago. And this year, even, you know, talking to this camera now, I did not show up, you know, half the amount that I would have liked to. For my loved ones, for, you know, my team, I was proud of how I showed up. But, you know, my team is my family and my friends as well. So showing up for them and making sure that their birthdays are in the diary, right? Like, I'm allocating enough time and spending enough time with them. And that's really important as I start to mature. I think heading into, you know, like mid-20s are around the corner. And just writing everything down so it's there, and I'm reviewing that every single day and making sure I'm showing up. Like, people messaged me for my birthday this year and I just didn't get back to them for a week or two, and that's not the person I want to be, but that was purely behind the toxic hustle, right? The toxic hustle. I have to do this all the time, and it was really, really detrimental to me, emotionally, but also physically. Like, I dropped the ball a lot with my fitness this year, and I've been ultra consistent with my nutrition and my diet the past kind of 2 to 3 weeks, and I feel great. Like, I feel really, really good, and I don't want to compromise that heading into next year either. So those are the goals, the benchmarks for me personally. And like we say, I'm looking forward to sitting down and reflecting towards next year and seeing what we've done and what we've created as well with the team. And, you know, the team, another goal I forgot to mention, we're going off track here, but it's just a raw update, right? So creating opportunity in my business for people to show up to work and just love what they do, right? And I think most of my guys do now. Well, all of my guys, I hope, do that, but also creating opportunity for them to make a whole lot of money and set themselves up into the future as well. So developing new roles in the business, giving more opportunity elsewhere, like we say, and allocating, so I can do what I love to do in the company, which is be creative, and, you know, working people to their strengths and weaknesses is a big one as well. So making sure they love their role and love what they do is always going to be big. Yeah, that is everything, I think. Everything's off my plate, off my chest. Thank you so much for watching. And just thanks for the support on these videos lately. It's been really cool to see, like, even going from seeing a video hit 50 views, then 100 views and 150. And it's really motivating me to see that a lot of people are resonating with these kinds of things. I've had some really nice messages in terms of me just sharing my story and, you know, inspiring a few other people as well. So fingers crossed you got something from this video. Thank you so much for the support heading toward, you know, from the back end of this year. And yeah, excited to see what 2025 brings.